Hello and welcome back to Football Daily, where today we're looking at 10 ways football needs to change over the next few years. Now, this script was written by Zach Jalab, so if you disagree with any of the suggestions or ideas, then you can take them up with him. Let's go. 10. Sin bins. Sin bins are something we've seen in a lot of other sports. Common in ice hockey and rugby, in 2017 it was introduced into the lower leagues of football to help referees manage the game. They were first tried out in the 2017-18 season and extended to a total of 31 leagues in the 2018-19 campaign. The FA found there was a 38% total reduction in dissent across all leagues during the trial period last season. This is something that needs to be introduced into professional football. Although dissent isn't as much of an issue as it is in the lower leagues, the sin bin can be used for challenges that don't quite deserve a red card but are severe enough to warrant something more than a yellow. And whilst dissent isn't rife in the Premier League, a sin bin would quickly stop players surrounding the referee or talking disrespectfully about certain decisions made. Whilst it's not one of the most important changes to the game, it would definitely be a welcomed one. 9. Unnecessary yellow cards. Picture this, your team is drawing 2-2 in a semi-final in the 90th minute, you've won a corner, it's crossed in and you've headed it into the back of the net. The goal scorer has taken his top off in celebration whilst one of his teammates has jumped into the crowd. After the celebrations have calmed down, the referee shows them both their second yellow cards, resulting in reds which mean they miss the final. This is a scenario which could happen. In the current laws of the game, officials can show a yellow card for excessive celebration. Removing their shirt over their heads or even climbing onto a perimeter fence to celebrate can be cautioned. But these aren't the only unnecessary bookings you can receive. PSG superstar Neymar was recently told off for showboating in a game against Montpellier after performing a rainbow flick. Interpretation is the name of the game and referees are expected to act in a preventative mode and to exercise common sense in dealing with goal celebration and pitch antics. But it's a rule which we see as pointless. Scoring a crucial goal will bring a lot of emotions, and to book a player for showing that doesn't quite seem fair. Before we continue our moan, just remember to like and subscribe to the channel with notifications switched on so you never miss one of our videos. 8. Effective playtime. One of the most suggested changes we received from you guys on Twitter was effective playtime, which essentially means stopping the clock every time the ball is not in play and making football games 30 minutes a half. According to the International Football Board, many people are very frustrated that a typical 90-minute match has fewer than 60 minutes of effective actual playing time. On average, in the Premier League this season, the ball is in play for 50 minutes of the game, meaning fans are being shortchanged of nearly 40 minutes of action. However, physically, it's impossible to play 90 minutes of professional football with the ball in the play the whole time and would cause a high level of injuries in the game. Effective playtime would allow fans to see high action games with no time wasting. Players feigning injuries or keepers taking a long time to take their goal kick will no longer be the burden they once were, as when the game is stopped, so is the clock. This will allow 100% certainty that the game has been played for the required length of time. But we want to know what you guys think. Should this change happen? Vote in the poll above and let us know. 7. Get rid of FA Cup replays. Something that has caused a lot of uproar this season has been FA Cup replays. According to most fans, nobody likes them and everybody wants to get rid of them. But it's not as easy as that. For some clubs, after battling to a draw, the replay away to a higher league club can be financially the peak of their season. Minus TV revenue, when Cambridge United faced Manchester United at Old Trafford back in 2015, it earned the club close to £1.2 million, outstripping the business's annual turnover. Replays aren't just affecting Premier League teams. League One promotion chasers Oxford already had played 39 games going into February, including 13 cup matches. The FA has changed some rules this year, with the fifth round now being played midweek and extra time and penalties being used instead of replays at that stage, but there's one big change that can be done and leave every fan happy. One idea we've come up with at FD is that whenever two teams are bought out of the same pot, the club in the higher division should play at home, allowing more revenue to be made by the smaller club. And if they're in the same division, the home side should simply be the team picked out first. If the game ends in a draw, extra time and penalties will be required. Alternatively, the clubs can decide themselves whether they want to replay prior to kickoff, so everyone is happy. 6. VAR. This season saw the introduction of video assistant referees in the Premier League, but after nearly weekly controversy, it's still being debated as to whether it's caused more harm than good. There are 4 categories in which VAR can be used: goal or no goal, penalty or no penalty, direct red cards, and mistaken identity. The latter is yet to cause any upheaval, as if used, it's objective. However, the other 3 all contain subjectivity, which understandably means some people's opinions will differ to the final decision. The issue isn't down to the decision being made, made, but who it's being made by. In the 2018 World Cup, VAR had a success rating of 99.3%, up from 95% of correct calls by referees without VAR. But the key difference is in international competition. VAR would suggest that the on-field referees should consult the monitor and take a look at the incident and make up their own mind on what respective action should be taken. In England's top division, this isn't the case. Instead, the officials over in Stockley Park give their view on the incident and suggest what action should be taken to the on-field ref, very rarely telling them to take a look themselves. This is where fans get frustrated, as the game isn't consistent and decisions aren't being made by the main official. Although fans may never be 100% satisfied with VAR, adopting the methods used in the World Cup could allow more consistency and hopefully feel like less injustice in the game. 5. Sensible tournament hosts. One of the biggest gripes with FIFA and UEFA in recent years has been their choice of host locations for tournaments and some of football's biggest finals. The 2018-19 Europa League final tested the loyalty of even the most die-hard fan, with Arsenal and Chelsea fans facing a 5,000-mile round trip to Baku, Azerbaijan, with estimate costs for the package being in excess of £1,000 each. The result was a dead atmosphere in a half-empty stadium, not the final anyone wanted. The Champions League final in Kiev the year before came under fire, while the Spanish Football Federation's decision to host the Spanish Supercopa in Morocco and then this season in Saudi Arabia was met with outrage by fans. UEFA and the RFEF may argue financially and commercially it is important to reach new markets, but ultimately it's the real fans and the atmosphere that suffers. In fact, many supporters groups have had enough. Last year, Liverpool and Tottenham fans wrote to UEFA demanding greater transparency over their host city decisions, with Jurgen Klopp stating, "I don't know what these guys are having for breakfast" when choosing where finals are held. Attending a major final is expensive enough as it is, so measly ticket allocations in inaccessible locations is something that simply has to change. 4. Football agents. In recent years, football has witnessed the rise of the superstar agent. While this in principle is fine, the finances concerned with their role in transfers is spiralling out of control, as well as their influence in the game. In August 2016, after closing the world record transfer of Paul Pogba to Manchester United, Mino Raiola, Pogba's agent, made a reported £21 million from the £89 million transfer, nearly a 20% rate. Even in the January window, AS reported that Edison Cavani's move to Atletico Madrid collapsed after his representatives demanded almost the equivalent to the £18 million transfer fee agreed. In other sports like the NFL, agents are not permitted to receive more than 3% of their clients' playing contracts, with that standing at 4% in the NBA. We think this needs to be introduced into football. FIFA have looked into it, however the worry we face now is that we may be too far in. In 2019, FIFA claimed agents earned $635.9 million in fees, 4 times their earnings than in 2015. And agents are ready to fight any change that may be coming their way. As recently as the 22nd of January 2020, Raiola was among a number of high-profile football agents, including Jorge Mendes and Jonathan Barnett, who threatened FIFA with legal sanctions following the planned cap on transfer payments. This could prove to be one of football's biggest challenges over the next few years. 3. Fanbase Tribalism. The rise of social media has seen places like Twitter become highly engaged after matches. For the most part, debate on games is great, but we can also see a dark side of the media too. For all the banter and positivity Twitter offers, fan-base accounts like Marvellous Mane and Perfect Pogba can overstep the mark. Ex-Chelsea goalkeeper Marcin Bolka spoke about the effects Twitter had on striker Alvaro Morata, saying the hatred of fans affected him and showed in his training. It was easy to stop his shots, he had a mental block. A study by academics on Brazilian professional footballers published in the prestigious Journal of Sports Sciences came to an eye-opening conclusion. Being on social networks on smartphones for at least 30 minutes before official matches impairs the decision-making performance in professional football athletes. It has got to the stage where a number of leading clubs such as Manchester United have invested in working out how to stop the negative side of social media affecting their players' mental health and form. In fact, footballers are starting to reject social media because of the stress it can cause. According to the Professional Footballers Association, the number of players accessing the PFA's counselling services rose to a record 643 in 2019, up almost 50% from the previous year. This has seen a rise in players using management companies to control their accounts to avoid seeing the abuse they receive. And it is worth remembering, footballers are human too. 2. The Offside Rule. Introduced in 1863 to stop goal hanging, the Offside Rule has been one of football's longest and most important rules. Slightly changed in 1925 and again in 1990, we think it needs another revamp. Although the rule itself is fine, with the introduction of VAR, we've seen plenty of controversy. With players running at top speed, the camera's 50 frames per second aren't able to keep up with the move. Between the 2 frames of the ball categorically leaving the foot and not, a player can move roughly 10 centimetres, meaning that in between those 2 frames, he can go from onside to offside, but actually have been onside when the ball was categorically played. As we can't guarantee 100%, there is a margin of error on every decision. As seen this season, players' shoulders or toes are being judged offside in the cruelest of margins. There are several suggestions as to how the offside rule can be improved for VAR, like if any body part that can score is onside, then you can't be called off. But we think this is too drastic a change, and although football isn't meant to give the advantage to the defenders, this would be too much. What should happen is a margin of error. As the cameras can't capture everything, we are suggesting attackers get a 10cm leeway to accommodate the movement of a player frame to frame. That way, more objective decisions could be made over whether a player is offside, which will hopefully stop all the VAR critics. 1. Ticket pricing. You may be surprised to hear this, but in the 1990s, you could buy match tickets for the lowly price of £11. Fancy seeing Crystal Palace beat Liverpool in the FA Cup semi-final? £7. In fact, a season ticket in the Cop End at Anfield cost only £65, just short of the average price to see a single game at Merseyside today. And this is affecting football matches. Research done by Manchester City legend Vincent Kompany for his MBA showed the clubs that ranked highest for atmosphere were mainly in Germany, where some clubs are community-owned and ticket prices are low, allowing the right communities to attend. On average for Premier League clubs, matchday ticket sales are just 15% of their annual revenue, and this is predicted to fall. If you're an Arsenal fan who owned a season ticket and attended every game, you would be predicted to spend £1,458.10 over the season on everything from replica shirts to programmes, and not even including away days. In the average British household, that would equate to 5% of your yearly earnings, and just for yourself. If you have family members to pay for too, that shoots up. This needs to be changed, as the cost of supporting your club should not leave you empty-handed. Premier League away days are currently capped at £30, and a similar system should be introduced for home matches. We can all agree making football more affordable for those who it matters most to would be a step in the right direction. So that was our list of 10 ways we think football needs to change. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. I'm sure Zach would love to hear your counter arguments. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and as always, I'll see you next time.